I never thought I'd find myself here, pouring my heart out about the unraveling of my marriage. My name is Jake, and I've been married to Jessica for 6 years. We were that couple everyone envied, great jobs, a cozy house, and plans for the future. But over the last few months, things started to shift in a way that left me feeling uneasy. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Jessica was working long hours at her marketing job and was always glued to her phone, which she'd previously shared with me without hesitation. But suddenly it felt like she was hiding it, locking it when I walked into the room or brushing off my questions about her day. I could sense a distance growing between us. I tried to approach her about it, but she'd snap back. "I'm just busy, Jake. Why can't you just give me some space?" I thought I was being paranoid. Maybe I was reading too much into things. Still, that nagging feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. And then there was the night I had to work late and decided to surprise her with dinner. I walked in, expecting her to be home, but she wasn't. That's when the real trouble began. When I arrived home that evening, the house was eerily quiet. I figured she must have been caught up at work longer than expected, but as I walked through the living room, something felt off. Her purse was on the kitchen table, but there was no sign of her. I shrugged it off and started to prepare the dinner I had planned. After about half an hour, I started to get worried. I sent her a text. "Hey, just checking in. Everything okay?" No response. The silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating. After waiting for what felt like an eternity, I decided to go up to our bedroom. As I walked past the hallway, I noticed her phone buzzing incessantly on the counter. Curiosity got the better of me, and I picked it up. I shouldn't have done it, but I unlocked it with the face recognition, something I'd set up for her when we first got it. As soon as the screen lit up, a barrage of messages filled the screen from a contact saved as Mark. I'd never heard of a Mark before. My heart raced as I opened one of the messages. It was a conversation filled with flirty texts, explicit photos, and plans to meet up. I felt the ground shift beneath me. "Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. Let's make it a night to remember. I need some good sex after this week," one message read. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I dropped the phone like it was a live grenade, and it clattered to the floor, the realization hitting me like a freight train. My wife was cheating on me. The anger and betrayal surged through me like wildfire, and all I could think was, how could she do this? I barely had time to catch my breath when I heard the front door open. Jessica walked in, her usual bright smile fading when she saw the look on my face. "Jake? What's wrong?" she asked, her tone shifting from casual to concerned in an instant. I picked up her phone from the floor, my hand trembling with a mix of fury and disbelief. "We need to talk, Jessica," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I didn't want to lose control, but inside, I was a whirlwind of emotions. "What's going on?" she asked, eyeing the phone nervously. I tossed it on the table in front of her. "You want to explain this?" She picked it up, and for a moment confusion crossed her face, but then it quickly turned to defensive anger. "What the hell, Jake? Are you going through my stuff now? That's so low." "Low? Is that really your response?" I shouted, unable to hold back the hurt and rage. "I found messages from Mark. Flirty texts, explicit photos. You're cheating on me, Jessica." Her expression shifted to feigned surprise, and she crossed her arms, a defiant look on her face. "Oh, come on! You really think I'm cheating? You're being ridiculous. Mark is just a coworker. We joke around a lot, that's all." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Joke around? This isn't just joking around. You've been meeting him, haven't you? Stop twisting things. You're just upset because I've been busy with work. She shot back, her voice rising. "I'm allowed to have friends, Jake. Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't need to talk to anyone else." Her excuses felt like knives, each one digging deeper. I was blindsided by the audacity of her lies. The more I pressed, the more she deflected. It was like talking to a wall. She wouldn't admit anything, turning the blame back on me as if I was the problem. With every word she said, the pain in my chest grew heavier. I felt betrayed not just by her actions but by the lies that rolled off her tongue so easily. I had hoped for some honesty, some semblance of guilt or regret, but all I got was a wall of denial. The confrontation left me reeling, desperately searching for a way to make sense of it all. The confrontation with Jessica felt like a tornado had swept through my life, leaving chaos in its wake. As she continued to deny everything and blame me for our issues, my head spun with disbelief. I had never seen this side of her before, the dismissiveness, the anger. It felt like she had become a stranger right before my eyes. After she stormed out of the room, I sat on the edge of our bed, staring blankly at the wall. My mind raced, replaying every moment that had led me here. I felt like a fool for not recognizing the signs earlier. I thought we were building a future together, but it was all a lie. The betrayal hit me in waves, first the shock, then the anger, and finally the overwhelming sadness. I picked up her phone again, scrolling through those messages as if they might provide some clarity. They didn't. Each one felt like a dagger, reminding me of her betrayal. I felt sick to my stomach, like I was going to vomit. The woman I loved, who I trusted with my heart, was sharing intimate moments with another man. I couldn't believe how quickly my world had crumbled. Days turned into an emotional roller coaster. I barely slept, haunted by memories of our happier times. I thought about the vacations we took, the laughter we shared, and the dreams we had built together. All of it felt tainted now. I found myself oscillating between rage and despair, wondering how I could ever look at her the same way again. Whenever she returned home, I was met with a wall of hostility. She would hurl insults or accuse me of being paranoid, as if I was the one in the wrong. Each encounter chipped away at my sanity, pushing me deeper into a pit of despair. I had to confront the reality that the woman I loved was choosing to prioritize her own desires over our marriage. I felt completely alone, drowning in a sea of betrayal and sorrow. I wanted to scream, to throw things, to make her feel the pain she was inflicting on me. But all I could do was sit in silence, waiting for the storm to pass. I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when I was falling apart inside. I needed to figure out how to move forward, but the path ahead felt dark and uncertain. After days of sleepless nights and emotionally charged encounters with Jessica, I reached a breaking point. I could feel myself spiraling, and I knew I had to make a decision, one that would dictate the course of my life moving forward. The thought of staying in this marriage, pretending everything was fine, felt unbearable. I had to consider what I truly wanted for my future. One evening, after another tense conversation filled with half-hearted apologies and more accusations from her, I finally said, "I can't keep doing this, Jessica. I need to figure out what I want, and right now, I don't want to live in a marriage built on lies." Her reaction was predictable, another round of defensiveness. "You're being dramatic. You're going to throw away everything because of some silly texts?" she snapped, eyes blazing. But this wasn't just about texts, it was about trust. I realized I had been denying my own feelings, thinking I could work through this with her. But as I stared into her eyes, I saw a person who didn't respect me or our vows. The realization that our marriage had become a charade hit me hard. So, I made a plan. I reached out to a close friend, Chris, someone who had always been there for me. I poured my heart out to him, detailing everything that had transpired. His support was invaluable. He encouraged me to prioritize my own well-being. The next day, I found a temporary apartment to give myself space to think. I couldn't bear the thought of being around Jessica any longer. The physical distance felt necessary, a way to gather my thoughts and find clarity. When I told Jessica I was leaving, she flipped out, calling me all sorts of names and insisting I was being unfair. "You think you can just walk away from our life? You're making a huge mistake," she yelled, but I stood firm. I didn't want to fight anymore. I was exhausted. It became clear to me that I needed to take control of my life and my happiness. Leaving wasn't about giving up, it was about reclaiming my dignity. I spent the next few weeks moving my things out, slowly putting distance between us. I had good days and bad days, some moments filled with anger, while others were tinged with sadness as I mourned the relationship I thought I had. But amidst the turmoil, I felt a glimmer of hope. I was finally taking steps to protect myself and start anew. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was determined to find my way back to a life that felt authentic and true. As I settled into my new apartment, a wave of relief washed over me. Sure, the loneliness crept in sometimes, and I missed the life I once had, but I felt a sense of freedom that I hadn't experienced in years. I began to take stock of what I wanted moving forward. I started focusing on myself, going to the gym, picking up hobbies I had long abandoned, and reconnecting with friends. Chris was a tremendous support, helping me navigate this difficult period and reminding me that I deserved happiness. I also sought counseling, wanting to process everything that had happened and ensure I wasn't carrying any lingering baggage into future relationships. The more time I spent away from Jessica, the clearer my feelings became. I realized that I had been compromising my own happiness for far too long, trying to make things work with someone who wasn't willing to do the same. I began to understand the importance of self-respect and how critical it is to surround myself with people who lift me up rather than tear me down. I had an epiphany. I learned that love shouldn't feel like a constant battle. It should bring joy, support, and growth. I also realized how easily one could lose themselves in a relationship that had turned toxic. My self-worth was not tied to Jessica or her decisions. It was mine to claim and protect. Looking back, I wish I had recognized the red flags earlier. If anyone else finds themselves in a similar situation, my advice is simple: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs or make excuses for your partner's behavior. You deserve honesty, respect, and love. And if you find yourself questioning your worth, remember that you have the power to walk away and rebuild your life. As for Jessica, I have no idea where she is now. I haven't spoken to her since I left, and honestly, that's okay. I'm focused on my own path, ready to embrace whatever comes next. Life is too short to stay in a relationship that drains you. I've learned that it's perfectly okay to put yourself first, and that's a lesson I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. As the weeks turned into months, I began to feel like a different person. My life was far from perfect, but I was no longer in the dark cloud that had hung over me during the last months of my marriage. I started to embrace the unknown, and I found myself laughing more, enjoying small victories like cooking a new dish or finishing a book I had put off for ages. With every step I took toward healing, I felt a little lighter. I also reconnected with old friends, people I had unintentionally drifted away from during my marriage. I remember one night when we all went out for drinks. The laughter was infectious, and I felt so alive. It struck me that I hadn't felt that joy in years. I had been so focused on keeping my relationship intact that I had forgotten what it felt like to truly enjoy life. Still, there were moments of doubt. Occasionally, I'd catch myself wondering if I made the right choice. What if Jessica had changed? What if we could have worked it out? But then I'd remind myself of the way she treated me, the lies, and the betrayal. Those thoughts were like fleeting shadows. They came and went, but they never took hold. I also started dating again, something I approached with caution. I wanted to make sure I wasn't looking for someone to fill a void but rather to share life with someone who appreciated me for who I was. The first few dates were awkward, and I felt vulnerable, but I knew I was ready to explore new connections. One evening, I met a woman named Emily at a mutual friends gathering. She was kind, funny, and incredibly easy to talk to. We hit it off immediately, and as the night went on, I found myself feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. We exchanged numbers, and in the following weeks, we went on several more dates, each one filled with laughter and genuine conversation. As I navigated this new chapter, I learned to communicate better and not shy away from discussing my feelings. It felt liberating to be open and honest, not just with Emily but with myself. I realized that I was deserving of love, respect, and all the good things that life had to offer. Reflecting on my journey, I understood that the end of my marriage wasn't just a failure, it was an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. I had faced one of the hardest challenges of my life, and I emerged stronger and more aware of my worth. I didn't want to look back with bitterness or regret. Instead, I aimed to carry those lessons forward. Ultimately, I learned that heartbreak could lead to healing. It might take time, but on the other side of pain, there's the possibility of joy. I hope anyone reading this understands that it's okay to prioritize your happiness, and that sometimes, walking away is the best decision you can make for yourself. Life is too short to settle for anything less than the love and respect you deserve. As I continue on this journey of rediscovery and healing, I can't help but reflect on everything I've learned. If there's one thing I want to share with anyone who finds themselves in a situation similar to mine, it's this: trust your instincts and value yourself. Recognize the signs, pay attention to your partner's behavior. If you sense something is off, don't brush it aside. Your gut feelings are often based on instinctive knowledge. It's your mind trying to tell you something important. Communicate openly. If you have concerns, express them. Don't let fear of conflict keep you silent. A healthy relationship is built on open communication. If your partner is dismissive or defensive, take that as a significant red flag. Set boundaries. Know what you will and won't accept in a relationship. If you feel your partner is crossing those boundaries, don't hesitate to stand up for yourself. Your feelings matter, and you deserve to be treated with respect. Don't make excuses. It's easy to rationalize someone's poor behavior, but don't let love blind you to the truth. If your partner is lying or betraying your trust, it's not your fault, and you don't have to tolerate it. Take time for yourself. After a breakup, it's essential to take time to reflect on what you want moving forward. Focus on your interests, friends, and personal growth. Allow yourself to grieve the relationship, but also embrace the new possibilities ahead. Seek support. Surround yourself with friends and family who uplift you. Lean on them during tough times, and consider professional help if you need guidance in processing your feelings. Embrace change. Change can be daunting, but it often leads to growth. Allow yourself to step outside your comfort zone, whether it's through new hobbies, friendships, or even dating. You never know what joys await you on the other side. Remember your worth. At the end of the day, know that you deserve love, respect, and happiness. Don't settle for less than what you're worth, and don't be afraid to walk away from anything that diminishes your value. As I look ahead, I feel excited about the future. I'm grateful for the lessons learned, even if they came at a high price. Life has its way of testing us, but it also offers beautiful opportunities for renewal. If you're in a tough spot right now, I want you to know that there is hope. You're not alone, and there's a brighter future waiting for you. Embrace it, take the leap, and trust that better days are ahead. You've got this.